everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to podcast episode 58. Going to be joined today by the FinPark crew. They're a truck parking solution. We all know trucks not having enough parking spots lately. It's kind of been a topic of discussion. So let's get right into it. What's going on, boys?
What's going on?
Hello. How's it going?
How's it going, Alex?
Good, man. Good. If you guys just want to introduce yourselves quickly and your role within FinPark, and we'll get it rolling.
Sounds good. Well, I'm Anthony Petitte. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at FinPark. Happy to be here.
My name is Britton Wesson. I'm Business Development Manager with FinPark. Excited to be on the show for you, Alex.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm glad to have you guys. Happy Friday. Let's get right into it. How did you guys get into logistics?
Yeah, I could definitely start with that. I had an uncle, my late uncle, I should say, fortunately passed away in 2018. But he was a truck driver. He actually worked for the Teamsters out of Chicago in the 70s and 80s, then retired as a driver and then got into real estate. So he built his first purpose-built truck yard in the south side of Chicago in 2014, 2015. 2015, he had asked me to come on to help him out. Essentially, my background was in, at the time, digital marketing and SEO. So I actually had built him a website, and we called it truckpark.com. That's what actually started my career in truck parking, or in the transportation industry rather. And so from there, I jumped into helping him try to figure out how to get truck drivers aware and have visibility to his yard. So essentially connecting the renter, which is the driver or the owner operator independent, with safe and secure parking ahead of all of the applications that exist today. Because again, this is 2015.
I was about to say, I like the generational gap of him being an older gentleman, you coming in, bringing in like, hey, let's get a website. Let's get into the modern era of things. Because now, I mean, there's apps all over the place. 2014, 15, right. You wouldn't, there would be a website. You'd have to start getting the word out somehow.
Exactly. So that's where I started to see the true vision unfold of having a website in place, being a little bit more automated than the old school smile and dial, try to find where the truckers are coming off of the interstates and the freeways out of Chicago. And how in the world are they going to find my uncle's yard when he had a yard that was positioned behind a factory? So it was the whole visibility of how we're going to get in front of the drivers. And that's where truckpark.com really started. I asked my uncle to join. He was an old school guy. To give you a picture, uncle was so old school that he never even had an email his entire life, 58 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a business card that just said S for Sammy on the front, and then it had a number on the back. And so he had no technical appetite, no technical aptitude. He just was so old school that he just didn't really see the vision. But he was supportive, and he allowed me to kind of build it when I was, this is now 2015, late 2015, early 2016. I was 26 years old. And
so how many spots did you guys start out with in that operation?
So my uncle it was a 4-acre site. So rule of thumb, every acre you can have about 20 to 25 trucks on. So that's full trucks. That's tractor and trailer. So 75 feet total. Yes. So we had about 125 to maybe 150 spaces total.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, I mean, let's get into it with you, Britton. How did you get into the logistics industry?
Yeah, so my background's a little bit different than Anthony's. My dad, I remember years ago when I was a kid, my dad was a regional driver, and he would park his cab in front of the house, and it was always fun to have that in front of the house. Yeah, so I remember that as a little kid, I thought that was the coolest thing. My dad drives that thing. But my background really, I started in sales at JB Hunt. I live in Northwest Arkansas. And a gentleman from our church that I went to church with, he was a VP there at Hunt, and he approached me one time, had coffee, and he knew I was looking for a new role in life, and so he sat me. We had coffee, and he asked me what I knew about the trucking industry. I said, my dad used to drive years ago, and I know that. I could quote some Smokey and the Bandit, and that's about it. Eastbound and down, the boys whatever, all that stuff,
I like how both your guys' family members have driven trucks. So you guys like
Yeah.
understand the pain points. You guys
Yeah.
understand like the trucker lifestyle and like the things that bothered them and were hard for them.
Yeah, I remember, and so I got into it that way. Was just an introduction into sales at JB Hunt. But honestly, man, the more and at the time I was working for Lowe's, and I told him, I said, the other thing I know about the trucking industry is that, and this was back in 2016. I know what I know about the trucking industry is that at Lowe's, I get there at 7:00 in the morning, and there's a bunch of shovels and rakes and water hoses and stuff that's been shipped in, and I have to put it up. But it got here because a driver brought it, and so I once I got into JB Hunt and really started getting into the operational side and watching all that happen and seeing what drivers do day in, day out. It is, man. And even I think one of the coolest things I did was, so Northwest Arkansas is chicken country. There's chicken houses everywhere. Tyson Chicken, Walmart, all these guys, right? Well, one of the JB Hunt runs a lot of chicken trucks for Tyson and for these different groups. And one day, I spent the day in the cab of the truck riding with the driver, and we were driving up these one-lane dirt road hills up through the Ozark Mountains, man, and driving up these chicken farms. And we'd show up with the empty truck. By the time we got done with it, we had about 4,000 chickens on the truck, and we were hauling them down to the
live chickens.
Live chickens, dude. Yeah, live chickens. And it was a crazy operation, but no,
that is a crazy operation because my
wild.
experience with the chicken industry is just putting it into reefers and it's already like ready to eat chicken.
Oh man, we're bringing
live chicken
house, live chicken haul, and hearing their stories, sitting with those guys, and riding with them. I rode with a guy from Milwaukee to North Chicago one time when I was up there visiting some accounts. But just seeing the amount of things that the logistics industry can accomplish is mind blowing. It's not just delivering, our goods to the store, but it goes from, it's just, there's so much that goes on, and it's an industry that I've garnered a lot of interest in since being in it and starting in sales. And so I've never driven a truck, but I've brokered loads. That's a whole different world. That is, but I got into FinPark, I guess it was about a year and a half ago. We got connected with Anthony through another mutual friend.
Yeah, so let's get into that. So
that's how I got into. So that's my logistics story. Yeah, man.
Yeah, you got into the whole JB Hunt thing. And again, it's the best situation because neither one of you were like, I'm going to get into logistics. It's the same. It's always the same. Like, I don't know how I got into it. It just sort of happened.
It's just,
Anthony's story was a little easier because his family member was like, hey, like, you're going to come into, and you had the perfect segue. Your uncle's like, hey, you're going to come help me with truck parking. And it's like, what do you do today? Truck park.
Absolutely.
So let's get into
I pretty much fell right into that. So.
Let's get into FinPark. What is FinPark? What are you guys doing? What's the goal you guys are accomplishing? What is the company?
Yeah, FinPark is essentially what I had already built at Truck Park. And we didn't really get too much in the story there, but truckpark.com from 2016 to 2019 was just a website. In 2019, we became a web application and a mobile application. So essentially what FinPark is a application. We started off as a mobile application, I should say, and then we transitioned to a web application. So on the mobile app side, it's helping the market segment of the independent and owner-operator drivers, while the web application is essentially a built-in platform. We call it parking management in a box, and it's the market segment for the carriers, the brokers, and the shippers. And we're looking at more of the middle market to enterprise for the platform itself, for the web app, and for the application, then we're looking at the independent owner operator. So anything from 1 truck to 10 trucks, for example.
Well, of course.
And so that's essentially what FinPark is. But what we do a little bit differently is that we're predicated on safety. It's always been a pain point for my uncle as a truck driver, and I'm sure with any of your family if they've drove trucks. And so we always wanted to make sure that, one, the customer was going to have the best experience, two, that we're always going to be predicated on safety. And so what that looks like is we actually have a team. It's built within the sales team, but we focus on looking at yards only that have camera surveillance, only that are gated entry.
Yeah, that's what
and
I was
exits.
about to say to you. So all of your guys' parking spots are certified like safe parking spots.
Certified safe.
Yes.
Exactly. And then they have to have fenced in perimeters. And so we
Yeah,
don't work
exactly.
with anybody else. So let's say, for example, and I'll keep it short. Let's say, for example, we come across a location. First of all, it's a little rural. It's a little further off the beaten path. And they said, you know what, listen, like we have a great facility. We believe we have a great facility, but it's not fenced. It's not gated. Could we come on the platform still? And we say, unfortunately not. Not that we don't want to take you because you might have a bad operation, because you don't meet our criterion for safety.
Yeah.
That's why we don't have 5 billion locations out there. We don't promote ourselves to have 1,000 locations. We only have 130 active locations because all of them are safe and secure.
Well, I mean, I had a huge pain point in my dispatch career where we would have high value loads here and there, or we would just have loads where, we would have a stipulation where it's like, if you park, it needs to be in a certified safe parking spot, which is always going to be fenced with surveillance, with lighting. Mm-hmm. And the broker's always going to check on that, or the shipper's always going to check on that and make sure that the truck parks in an actual safe parking spot. So it's cool for you guys because then you could market it to drivers and be like, hey, look, any parking spot. If you ever, that was always the pain point. Where is a safe parking spot? Where is a secure yard? Where is the secure parking? So you guys already did that for the driver. Like, hey, if you ever need secure parking, just hit up FinPark. Like immediately you're going to get a safe yard. And then I feel like what you guys could end up doing with those rural people is tell them like, hey, like just build a fence and you can get some parking going. But I really like the initiative of being a safe parking spot service, because that's always tough to find gated parking spots like that. That's always been a pain point.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Anthony. No, go ahead.
I was just going to make it short. We don't also look at everybody. I know a lot of our competition will look at like different types of structured yards or truck stops or warehouses or maintenance repair shops. And it's not like we don't want to work with them, but again, it has to go back with that level of security. So there is some truck stops that do actually have fenced in perimeters. We still don't really work with a truck stop because it's not really our model. They have fuel, which is really their number one business. They also have the convenience store, which is their secondary business. And then lastly is truck parking. So that's not really our model, but
so let's go through. Let's clarify this, because this has been like a hot button topic, and I just want to clarify it out the gates with you guys. So you guys are not in the business of turning free spots paid. You guys are only charging for spots that were not existing in the market. You guys are only offering new spaces that were never there before you guys.
So I do want to clarify. It's subjective, right? Because essentially they could have been there, because don't forget, I built truck parks, so I actually had my hand in the safe and secure parking locations too. So they already existed at one point. But to answer your question, no, we don't go to a already existing free location and say, hey, you need to be paid. We're going to help you monetize it. We don't do that. That's not our business model. Our business model,
you guys are
new and existing, but secure locations that are prepaid.
You guys are just adding visibility to spots that nobody would have ever found, like your uncle's spot behind a factory in the middle of nowhere where nobody would ever be able to park there because they would never be able to find it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, we do. So again, we have 3 levels of the security, as I just mentioned, but then we also look at locations that are near highways. So we don't want to go any further away than 2.5 miles in proximity from a major highway or freight corridor. So it's actually very specific, It's also specific in a way where we look at a yard that's not necessarily like, if it's all sandy and it just doesn't, it's going to kick up a bunch of dust for drivers, just doesn't really make sense for us. We look at gravel, asphalt milling, or pavement for the surface level. We want to make sure this is the best experience. We're not going to say this is like the freaking Disneyland for trucks, right? Like that would require a lot better amenities, but we want to make sure that drivers are at least having a really good experience when they're there and they feel safe. That's what's most important.
Of course. Hey, Britton, take me through your side in FinPark. I mean, what's your day-to-day look like within the company?
Yeah, man, my day-to-day is, so my role is I talk to a lot of parking lot owners. I talk to anybody that, as I scour Google Earth.
You take the famous Google vacation where you just walk around.
I do. I've seen all of America on Google Earth, and but as I zoom in on I'll if I find it, I'll take a look at it. So I do a lot of just talking to parking lot owners, finding out where they're at, what their yard is. I walk them through what we look for. And so it's like Anthony was saying, there's just certain things I look for. Like if I'm looking in Colorado or Montana and their parking lot is dirt, there's a good chance I may not call that one, because I know, pretty much mid-November through the 1st of April, it's going to be a snowy, muddy mess for those drivers. And I don't know, do they have snow removal there, that sort of thing. But man, I talk to a lot of parking lot owners, and I'll talk to parking lot owners. I talk to warehousing yards if they have secure areas. So that's really what I do. I talk to, industrial real estate. I'm like you said, the Google Map vacation. That's what I'm on.
Map vacation, man,
and
all day.
I've got my, I strategize. There's one of the things that we do in FinPark is we do work with a lot of carriers, and we'll have carriers that will call us, and they'll call me up and they'll say, hey, we need parking in this area for this amount of, we need to park these certain assets for 2 years. And so I'll spend a couple of days digging into an area. Yeah. And some areas are easy to find stuff. Some areas, you really got to zoom in.
That's cool. So let's go through that for a second. So if there's like a carrier or even just like an owner op, and they're like, like they have a project coming up, maybe a 6-month contract, maybe a 12-month contract. They're like, hey guys, look, I'm going to need parking in this place at this time for this duration. You guys are willing to work with them in finding them specific things.
We will absolutely provide a custom parking solution for a carrier.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never even thought about
absolutely.
that. I've got those contracts where like, hey, we need a drop trailer pool from North Carolina to Chicago for the next 3 months. And then you're like, well, where the hell are we going to park all of these power units? Where are we going to park anything for the next for that whole contract? Right.
Right. Yeah. So
that's
we'll get those details from them. We have all kinds of different ways to talk about, to help drivers as far as a custom solution. We have that. We have a system where carriers can sign up, and it's called FinPark Reserve, and it's where they can go on, and it is for the most part it is a paid subscription service, but they get access, like a transportation manager or a logistics director can get access to our dashboard, and they can look at all our locations, and they can say, oh, I've got these 17 cabs running with these flatbeds through this area in North Carolina to, Billings, Montana. Where can we stage parking for these guys? It's going to be, and they can actually go on and do the parking themselves. They don't have to call us up. They're a part of the FinPark subscription aspect of FinPark Reserve, and they can manage all the parking for their drivers. As a matter of fact, we got a gentleman on our team. His name's Andrew Rice. He hits home runs with that stuff, man. He talks to carriers about getting them on board. And I hate to use the phrase selling the product, but for the lack of a better phrase, but he really takes care of carriers in getting them, letting them know about what we do with FinPark Reserve and how they can have access to it. So they don't always have to call in or go to the app, but they've got a guy who says, hey, I'm going to handle parking for my drivers. And so Andrew takes care of that. But yeah, I do a lot of the carrier calls and says we need to stage, 17 tractor trailers in.
So that's my next question for you guys, actually. Yeah. So, because this was another pain point that I always had was when I was doing like trailer swaps. I did power only for 1.5 years, which is kind of rare. Like not a lot of people are running power only, only power only What I would like carriers be able to call you guys and be like, hey, I just need to drop a trailer for a couple days somewhere. Like, is it trailer only parking an option with you guys as well?
Yeah, I mean, we can help store a
Yeah,
trailer.
we could just drop off a trailer, come back in a couple days, pick up the trailer, swap the trailers around.
Yep, they can call us up, they can go through reserve, they can just go through the app and take care of that. I mean,
because a lot of your guys' competitors, from what I understand, either only offer cab parking or they don't offer trailer only parking. And my biggest thing is, if I was still doing power only, like, I would love to utilize a service like this to be like, hey, I got to drop off a trailer. I'm going to leave it there for a couple of days because it's loaded and I don't, I'll come back to deliver it. Because power only, there's a lot of like waiting around, but you could always just drop a trailer somewhere and then just go pick up another one, do some local runs. And the issue is you're not going to leave a loaded trailer sitting at a truck stop like alone. You're not going to ever do that.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, and which makes us so different than everybody else. It's our key differentiator. This is our value proposition. We have a sister company called V-Hub, which is a trailer repositioning and rental platform. It's a closed loop platform, so we manage everything from maintenance to the interchange process to the cross-border documentation to insurance. Okay. Yeah. And so speaking of a drop and hook type of model, right, where you can just go drop your trailer maybe for a couple of days, for a couple of months, we actually have a service that will come and take that. If you're power only and doing some repowering, a truck can come in, pick up that trailer, and then load it out to the next location. So we have it all. Like, we're end to end, a full end to end solution.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. So, I mean, I know like that's actually really cool. So basically, you guys would be able to like move some trailers around, or maybe would you guys deliver them, or we can rent trailers? Like, how does that all work?
Yeah, so because the system is so robust and powerful that it's almost like, think about it this way. We can show from other companies, let's say you're Mr. Trucker A, and you go and you do a load from Chicago to Kansas City, but you leave the trailer in Kansas City and you got to go back to Chicago to pick up something else. Well, we could actually, we put it on the platform almost kind of like a load board, right? You see the load posted, and then you would see the reposition posted on our platform. That's how it works. Another carrier can go ahead and bid on that reposition post and say, I want to go pick up, because I'm running a reverse lane from Kansas City to Chicago, and take that trailer back to its original destination.
That's cool. So that's like some nice, like you said, that's an addition that you guys can offer. Yes. I want to go back, if it's not a secret with you guys, how many spots? I mean, I don't know if that's what you guys are calculating, like how many spots or how many facilities. I'd like to know how many spots you guys are running roughly. I mean, the spots is more interesting to me than facilities, because facility you got one spot or a million spots.
Absolutely. So I believe we have a total of about 120. We're adding, interestingly enough, about 85 new secure locations by the end of the year. So let's just say total before end of year EOY will have 200 locations. That will translate to about 36 to 42,000 spaces. So we're a little bit different. We have more spaces than a lot of our competitors, because we don't look at one or two Z locations, or one or two Z spaces. We go and we negotiate like anywhere between 10 to 200 spaces.
Oh yeah, no, you guys are on a different level. I'm happy to know, like 36,000 spots. So I was on the phone with a truck driver, and he was explaining to me that the government is it's still crazy that these numbers to me. They're paying $80 million of taxpayers' money to create 246 spots, which is absolutely ludicrous when you think about the numbers. Like, I mean, for $80 million, you should be able to make like at least, I don't know, 8,000 spots. I don't know what's on here, but 248 spots.
You can make a nice truck parking lot with that much money.
Yeah, I don't know where the money's going, but that's taxpayers' money, and it's not a good situation.
No.
And I mean, we're all aware that truck drivers don't have enough parking spots. Like, I've had drivers lose an entire day of work because they told me, listen, man, like, if I don't get to truck parking by 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm not going to have a spot tonight. And I don't feel safe sleeping in the middle of nowhere. So, I mean, I've seen that happen.
Well, that's the thing with our app. It's route-based planning. So before that guy hits the road, if he's leaving out of, Salt Lake City and he's headed to Kansas City, he can, before he even leaves the parking lot, he can pull up our app and go, here's where I'm going, and see our locations. And he can go ahead and pre-book. He can book that spot Yeah, he can book that spot, and he might get off the road a couple hours early, but he's not going to be lacking a space. He can see the
he's not going to
amenities
lose
that are
an
around it.
entire day of work.
Right. So,
and one thing I want to clarify for drivers, which I had a previous driver a couple podcasts ago, really cool guy. I don't know. Oh, yeah, Garrett Steenblick, something like that. He's a really cool guy. He was a truck driver for a long time. And he was telling me, like, man, drivers need to stop with this whole, like, amenities thing. Like, you park your truck, you take an Uber to the closest Walmart, you buy your groceries, you go back to the truck. It's cheaper than the truck stop. That Uber is not going to cost you an arm and a leg. And at the end of the day, he's like, you're going to save money anyways because you're not buying, like, overpriced truck stop items. So, I mean, the whole amenities conversation with truck parking always comes up. And, I mean, I just don't see how bad it can really be when a driver for 5 years OTR who lived in the truck, didn't even have a home, wasn't even renting a home, like he was 5 years OTR, is telling me I took an Uber to the Walmart and amenities never really bothered me with my truck parking,
Well, and that's why we look for locations that are just a couple of miles off of a major highway or off of an interstate, because that's where your Walmart's going to be. That's where Walgreens is going to be. That's where a decent place to eat is going to be, and and grabbing a Uber, you're not burning gas in your cab, and but yeah, that's why we strategically look for just a few miles off of an interstate, off of an interchange, off of a highway, because we want to make sure they can get to a Walmart, they can do those sort of things. That's important. No, you're good.
Not every driver also wants to have all the bells and whistles. You would think they do, or other people would say, no, drivers do want that. It's like, first of all, let the driver speak and let them talk. And we've met with plenty of drivers that said, listen, if you're going to build, let's say from scratch, right? You're going to look at a piece of property, a parcel of land, and you're going to build it out to be a truck yard. And I know a couple groups that said, well, let's make this the Disneyland. Let's make it like everything, any type of amenity the driver wants.
Tattoo parlor on there.
Exactly.
Barber shop. I've seen this tattoo parlor, barber shop.
Yeah, right. Let's put a driver lounge with like a kitchenette, and like all these games. They'll have PS5 and Xbox. And one of the drivers was like, you don't need any of this stuff. Like, this is, if you want it, great, but like not every driver is going to want this. Like, drivers are so tired, they just go in the back of their cabs and they sleep. At the end of the day, we just want a good place to wash our hands, go to the bathroom, take a shower, maybe. That's it. Like, when it comes to food and stuff, like, we either bring our food, cook our food ourselves, or like you said, they'll just go to a Walmart down the street. And Britton said, we always make sure we're next to those things.
My biggest thing is safety, man. And I absolutely love the fact that FinPark is like, listen, every spot that you book with us is going to be gated. It's going to be surveilled. It's going to be safe. And I think that's the biggest thing, because I had a driver. He's from Serbia, actually, too. And then he went to the States to be a driver. And I was his first dispatcher ever. And I remember him, like, so I was like, his career and my career were like closely attached, because I was his first dispatcher and he was like fresh out of school. He had just started going OTR on his own. I remember we did the 1 week training with our existing driver, and this guy was taking me through his whole like story, and he was giving me like how being a driver was for him from the start. And this guy told me one time, he's somewhere in Texas, and I called him in the morning. I'm like, yo, what's up? He's like, dude, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep. I'm like, why didn't you sleep, bro? He's like, man, I was not safe where I parked last night. Like, he's like, I felt so scared. He's like, I stayed awake the whole night, bro. Like, he just, that when I heard that story, it always stuck with me, right? Because if you don't feel safe to go to sleep and then you have to go drive 10 hours the next day, like, that's not cool. And I think a lot of people gloss over truck parking safety, because people are all just like, oh, we have spots, bro. Like, oh, you need a spot, we have spots. But nobody's ever talking about, like, we have secure locations. We have secure spots. We have spots where the driver is not going to be on edge for the whole night, man. They're not going to get robbed in the parking lot. Like, so,
well, when I was at JB Hunt, loved working for JB Hunt. It's a great company. They have some really skilled and talented drivers in their company. But one of the things that they pressed on us, it didn't matter what department, what business unit we were in. If you were a driver, if you were a mechanic, if you were in IT, you were in sales, you learned about driver safety. JB Hunt, like, they drilled that into our heads from day one. And when you look at the stats of trailer theft, I think CargoNet, they put out a stat that in the third quarter of 2024, so just recently, truck trailer theft increased 14% compared to the same time period last year. So Q3 last year to now, it's gone up 14%. And so not only do we want to try to combat the truck parking issue because they need to park,
it's an issue,
but
they need to park.
But it's an issue of it's an issue of cargo safety. But number one, it's an issue of getting these men and women home and getting them back to their homes, getting them back to their families, getting them back to their friends, and they can sleep knowing, they might still run the seatbelt through the door handle and lock it up, but they might do that just out of habit. But we want them to know
I'd be
that
doing
even
that
if
out
they
of
do
habit
that, even if they do that at one of our locations, it's going to be fenced, gated. It's going to have lighting. It's going to have cameras, and they're going to be safe where they're at.
No, I really like your guys' goal. Like I said, I like the whole secure parking premise because I mean, marketing, that's the thing. Like, people are going to put a Band-Aid fix on things. They're going to be like, oh, well, we're offering more spots. And that's cool. And like 90% of the time, I'm sure it's going to be fine parking in some like dusty rural place. And sure, you're offering more spots, but you guys are kind of doing it the right way, where you're like, we're going to offer more spots, but we're going to offer the right spots in the right places. And like, we're going to take care of like the safety of these drivers and of the cargo. Right. And I mean, being a truck driver is sketchy, man. Like, you're driving around expensive things. Like, you have a target on your back at all times.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's not fair that you have to sleep on the side of a highway and like worry about getting robbed all night because there's no secure parking spots.
You know, I've got a kid who drives. He's 18 years old. He goes to college. Is about 3 hours away from us. The last thing I'd want to know is that he had an accident because there was a driver who had to park on the side of the road because he couldn't find anywhere to park. I would hate that, not just obviously for my family, but for that driver. There's just, and so when you think outside the box of, we want drivers to be safe. We also want people in four-wheelers to be safe. And we want them to be able to drive down the road in confidence, knowing, hey, I'm not going to have this issue because we see our calling as helping these men and women park safe, sleep safe, and get to their destination. Both. That's it. That's an
entire. Yeah. Absolutely. That's an entirely new conversation of sleep deprivation. Like the sleep deprivation, the driver's experience. It's harrowing and haunting because I've listened to so many drivers, even just building truck park, like hundreds and hundreds of drivers. I actually met with them, which was really cool. I mean, in the very beginning, the early days, we met with so many drivers and they would tell us all these horror stories on the road, and we won't have to get into that, but that's another conversation. But the sleep deprivation is so important. Like, these drivers, they literally have to use like those oxygen things to put them to sleep because they can't even like go to sleep naturally anymore. They're almost like, it's like psychological, right? Like, they just never leave. Something hits the window like a rock, they're like all of a sudden spooked out of their mind because they've had so many traumatic issues. And so, the sleep deprivation thing is huge. And a lot of people tend to I shouldn't say it that way, but like, it feels like it's tended to be overlooked. And that's where we come back in.
That's the whole thing in this industry. And that's my whole thing. And that's kind of why I even kind of got into podcasting, is because I feel like a lot of the drivers' day-to-day problems are overlooked. I feel like drivers as a whole are constantly overlooked. And I'm sure you can always point out like LinkedIn and all the social media is kind of a magnifying glass, and maybe drivers aren't overlooked as much. But then I go back to like, I was a dispatcher, I was a carrier in multiple different companies. Now I'm in brokerage. Luckily, I'm in a brokerage that cares about drivers, and I have an update team that I actually manage who was always checking on. Like, we do things the right way, but drivers are the most overlooked person in this entire industry, and without them, none of us exist. The industry doesn't exist. Nobody has anything in the store. And I feel like the drivers are always the most overlooked ones. And that's when I love to hear when companies come in like, hey, like, we're gonna fix a problem for drivers the right way and offer them safe things. And it always bothers me because the drivers, like, sleep deprivation, parking issues, these are things that a general person in logistics doesn't think or care about. Like, when you come into logistics, you don't get training to be like, hey, drivers have issues, be nice to them. No, you just get told like, book the load for the best rate. Right. Like, that's how the industry runs. Like, drivers are always an afterthought.
Yeah.
Right. Afterthought or treated poorly or driver's liable. Oh, you did this. No. It's not our fault. You did this. Oh yeah. You want to come after me? Well, my freight brokerage is worth $100 million. Good luck. And the driver's like, but you called me to move your load. What are you talking about? So how am I liable? So it's always overlooked.
It's always the drivers are always an afterthought. I like to hear you guys with the secure parking locations. I mean, take me through the next 3 to 5 years, or even the next 6 to 12 months. I mean, what's FinPark look to do over the next couple months, years?
Continuing our journey, continue to provide safe and secure parking. I mean, it's a simple solution. We just want to add more capacity for drivers. We even are getting into like Power BI and like all this behavioral stuff because we want to understand what the behaviors of the drivers are. So when they come to our platform, why aren't they making reservations? Why are they making reservations? Why this location versus the next location? We really want to better listen and understand, because all communication really is about listening. That's why they have that 80-20 rule, 80% listen, 20% talk. We want the drivers to give us feedback so that we can go back to the platform. We can create better technology, better functionality for them, and then thus is allowing us to plan our next 3 to 5 years. And those next 3 to 5 years will just continue to be built on safety and continue to provide a better experience for the driver.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I just want to go back to that whole 36,000, 40,000 spot. Like, you guys are not a small operation by any means. You guys are not something that just opened up yesterday and you're trying to gain traction. Like, this is a serious company. This is a serious operation. That's a serious amount of parking spots. So, I mean, for you guys, I mean, even if you guys doubled in the next 3 to 5 years, like, that would still be insanity. So
absolutely, it will be. Yeah. But, we hired and we brought on the right people. I had a partner at Truck Park, and when his non-compete expired and he was able to finally go through his transition, the person who bought it, the company who bought us, I should say, I actually hired him in. So he came to the company and let me give you some timeline. First of all, I got hired in May of 2023. Okay. Mm-hmm. I hired Britton in June of 2023. Then I brought on my former partner of Truck Park, who is now our chief strategy officer, in December of 2023. We have a very powerful team. Now there's other people involved, of course, but we have a very powerful team of people that have been in the industry for quite some time. My business partner who helped me build Truck Park from literally one location in the south side of Chicago, going back to our beginning of our call, all the way to about 500 plus, almost like 1,000 locations at the time. Now, we were a little bit different of a model. We were overnight. We were more of a long-term type of operation at FinPark. We do have the service to the owner-operator and the independents, but we also changed
a commercial service.
So we could, a singular variable kind of thing. But in any case, all of that, the point of all of this is we brought in the experts, the subject matter experts, to come in that know the industry. And let me pause right here. Joshua's brother is still a truck driver. He was a truck driver when I first met him and started talking to him about building Truck Park, and he's still a truck driver today. So all three of us have some sort of connection to a truck driver.
No, yeah, I want to highlight the best part of the situation to me is bro, you started your logistics career in truck parking. That's where could you have started in a better way than in truck parking? And then since 2016, you just continued being in truck parking. You can't ask for more credibility. You can't ask for more expertise in a topic where nobody, if you ask any broker, just pick any broker out of a hat, just go on LinkedIn, click somebody's profile and just be like, hey, what do you know about truck parking? And they'll be like, oh, what do I know about truck parking? Right. I don't know how they pull into a Love's. I don't know if it's free or nobody knows anything. Drivers, that's just the driver's thing. People are like, oh, the driver will figure out the parking. If you ask somebody how to find a secure parking lot, they're not going to know how to do it. I mean, for the most part, that's a generalization.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, when I talk to people and I just, hey, Britton, what do you do? And I tell them about FinPark. They're like, truck. I mean, I hear this every day. Truck parking. Now, that's something I've never thought about. I'm like, they got to park somewhere.
Going back to drivers being an overthought, truck parking is an overthought of the driver's problem. Everybody just says, there's a truck parking shortage. And that's about all that anybody's ever thought about truck parking if they're not a truck driver, because that's always something that's just the driver will figure it out. I don't care. That's always how it's treated.
Yeah,
absolutely.
let's have some closing words on FinPark. I mean, if you guys want to give like that quick elevator pitch, just so it's easy to make a clip of for Monday.
Yeah, from the supply side for onboarding parking lots, I would love to talk with anybody who has a location. Maybe you're in industrial and commercial real estate. You've got some gated fenced warehousing areas. I'd love to have that conversation with you and how we can help add you guys to the marketplace. Even a truck yard that might have extra space on their yard. So I would love to have that conversation with you. I'm on LinkedIn. They can hit me up there. My email is my first name, Britton.Wesson@finpark.io. But hit me up on LinkedIn. I would love to have those conversations with you guys and talk about how we can give y'all visibility. And we can get you connected with Andrew, who also talks about who can help carriers. So carriers, if you want to get connected with FinPark Reserve, Andrew would love to help you out, and I can get you connected with him. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Hit up Andrew Rice on LinkedIn. We'd love to help you out.
Yep. And then for me, it's if you are a carrier, if you're an independent owner operator, if you're a shipper, broker, whatever market segmentation you're in transportation, you can always message me. And just the same way, my email address is anthony.petitte, Petitte, @finpark.io. You can also message me on LinkedIn. I'm there, or you just give me a call. I'm not going to put my phone number directly on here, but if you hit me up in the DMs of the LinkedIn, I will certainly provide my number. We can certainly have the conversation. I love talking to truck drivers. Like I said, my late uncle was a truck driver, so it's very sentimental to me. I'd love to talk to you. If you're bored, if you're nervous, you're scared, whatever emotional standpoint, perspective you're in, I'd love to have that conversation. I'm like I love truckers. I still have a hat. I don't have it here in my house in Florida, but back in Arkansas, I have a hat that says I love trucks. It's like beat to shit. It's got like dirt all over it, but I still wear it because it says I love trucks. So, and I love truckers. And that's
I'm in that same boat, man. Like I just love trucks, truckers, trucking, just like anything to do with this industry. Like I'll be there, especially when it's like the drivers, man. Like I did the same thing that you just said. Like my drivers used to call me, like, bro, they'd just be bored. And I'd be at home like playing video games or something, and I would just talk to my drivers for like an hour. I'd just be chilling with them. Like they're driving down the road, like the load that I booked for them. Like I know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They just want to talk, bro. Just talking about random stupid things. Like, I mean, like they're alone in a truck going down the road for 12 hours a day, 11 hours a day. Like
I know.
So, but all right, boys. So that's it with the whole FinPark thing. Let's get into some fun stuff for the next 15-ish minutes, and we're out of here. So I'm going to start out with this craziest logistics story. You guys can each get one or two, depending if you have one or two.
Oh, man.
Gosh.
I mean, JB Hunt days, Britton. Think back to some JB Hunt days. Any wild shenanigans happening over there?
So I got two stories I'll share. So when I was in their dedicated contract services, DCS, I would talk to I would talk to companies that had a trucking arm to them. They're running their own material, whatever. I had a guy who literally, I called him and he said, "Do you guys deliver for Walmart?" And I said, "Yeah, we run some Walmart stuff." He goes, and he apologized on my behalf that I worked for JB Hunt. And then I remember when I was in brokerage at JB Hunt, we were running a fleet that ran out of a beef company down in South Texas. And I had a driver pull up, and I did a check call with her the next day. She said, "Yeah, when I pulled in, there's cattle everywhere. But I woke up this morning and there's no cattle. Where's the cattle at?" I said, "Well, they're in the back of your reefer. That's where they're at. And you're about to take those to LA." So I just, the conversation.
You're a big, you like to haul animals a lot, bro? Like,
chickens and
cattle. Now we weren't hauling live cattle. They were already in the form of ready to go to the grill. But
okay.
But yeah, man.
I thought you were shipping live cows again. I was like, man, this guy's like really on the shipping livestock thing. Like,
no, man.
Like
I'm sure. Yeah, no.
What about you, Anthony? What's some crazy parking stories, man? I want to hear some 2015 OG building a parking lot stories. Some guy crashing through your guard shack or something.
Oh God, yeah, it's definitely OG story. So for anybody that is knows Chicago or knows Chicago well from Chicago, my uncle had his yard on 87th Street. So it's it actually expanded because it was 4.5 acres, but it was like longer than it was width. So it went from 87th Street all the way to 68th Street. So again, anybody who knows Chicago well, 68th Street's a real tough area. In fact, it's pretty gang ridden. And so we were like late
I don't
night.
know, where is this story about?
Oh gosh, this is where it gets crazy. You wanted a crazy story, okay? So it's like late night. And not late, I would say it's that late, but it's, I don't know, late night evening in the summertime. So it was kind of still sunny out. It was like probably 6:30, 7 o'clock. It's getting later in the day, and this gets rough at night. So I'm like, I look at my uncle. I said, okay, well, we got to figure out a way we could lock this up, right? Because it's already secure with a fence, but anything can happen in this area. So we basically were like, we really wanted to make it secure, but like we wanted to make sure the truck drivers would be able to get out. My uncle, being that old school guy, he was like, okay, I got just the thing. He calls his buddy, and his buddy comes with like this huge armoire, right? I'm like, what in the world is going on? He's like, let's just put it in front of the gate so nobody can come in. I'm like, whatever, but how the world is a trucker going to get out? He's like, well, actually, they can use the back fence. I'm like, the back fence honestly goes right into 68th Street. That's like even worse. He's like, no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So I was like, okay, well, why don't we test it? So we get in his car, and at the time, I'm telling you, my uncle was very old school. He had an old 66 Chevy, like DeVille, right?
Yeah,
so like one of those really long boat cars, right? Like so long that they don't even fit like a regular like truck, like a regular any space, right? Maybe in a truck space, but not in a car space. So we get into this car just to test it out. And as we're driving, like not even, I don't know, half a mile away from the yard, all of a sudden it was like, pow, 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 jump. I'm ducking in. I'm like, what the heck is that? What the heck's going on? I mean, there was like gang wars, like literally bullets like flying over like this main exit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to go back to the yard. There's no way in the world these truckers are going to leave this facility. So just it's a funny story at the end because like it wasn't like near us, right? It was kind of away from us, but it was like I'm freaked out. I'm like ducking and trying to figure out how my uncle. This is where it's funny. I look at my uncle while I'm like literally ducking like this, even though it wasn't that close to us. My uncle's got his hair in the wind. He's listening to Frank Sinatra, and he's like, the music's blasting. He's like, I'm like, did you just hear those shots? He's like, it's all good. I was laughing so hard. We go back to the truck yard. We talked to some of the drivers. Like, just so you know, you probably don't want to go out on the 68th yard exit. You probably want to go this. We moved the armoire actually to the back of that facility. This is where I digressed at all. I was just laughing the whole time. This whole movie,
this was the day where this became a one entrance, one exit.
It became a one entrance from there. You're right. We never moved that armoire for like 3 years, and all the drivers just got out on 87th Street.
Yeah,
it was like the best thing ever. But it was probably nothing that I ever want to experience again. My uncle at the time, unfortunately, passed away. My uncle at the time didn't even bat an eye.
I got didn't. Yeah, the old school people don't care about anything, bro. I was with my grandma downtown Toronto. Like we were like somewhere in some like crazy place, and I was like tripping out. I'm like, this is not like a great area to be in. And my grandmother is driving me, and she's just like, bro, whatever. Like, man, I keep telling her stuff. I'm like, you're not scared because you're 70. Like nobody's gonna punch you in the face. Like nobody's gonna punch a 70-year-old woman in the face. Like, I'm gonna get punched in the face, bro. So I mean, the old people don't care, bro. Like nobody's gonna fight an old person.
No, they love it. It was an awesome experience, though.
They love it.
And a little thrilling at the same time because I was like, "The hell's going on?" Last story. I'll keep it super short. So this is about like secure truck parking. So when I was first obviously building truck park, like in the early days, truckpark.com, we ran into this guy. And he actually owned a trucking. He probably still does. I mean, he was very smart, very brilliant guy. Owned a trucking company. So he probably had about, at the time, like 8 or 9 trucks. I think now he has like 15 or 20. But in any case, he was so adamant that he didn't need to be in a secure, like we had offered a secure site for him in another Southside Chicago location, not my uncle's yard, but kind of close to it. he's like, no, I'm good. He was like this big Russian dude. He's like, no, I'm good. Like, I'm good. He put 2 of his trucks there. He literally comes back to me the next day, his face from like all happy and confident, like completely frowned. He's like, you're right. I walked to my truck, no tires.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I told you, like, you need safe and secure parking over there. Like, this is again, like 2015, 2016. He's like, no tires, all gone. I'm like, oh yeah, this is why you need safe and secure parking. So
yeah, that's insane. I mean, we just saw somebody send me an Instagram. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term. You might be being in Chicago. It might have like started in Chicago or Detroit. I don't know where it started, to be honest. But like people have been stealing like the Hellcats like nonstop, bro. And they put like stolen Hellcats on the internet as stolen Hellcats, but that you can't call it a stolen car. So they started calling them striker Hellcats. So if you see the word striker in like a Facebook Marketplace ad and a car for like $4,000, like it's stolen, so like don't buy
That's
it.
crazy,
right?
Crazy. Yeah, but it got so mainstream that people were just selling stolen cars, just calling them striker Hellcats, and people are buying them, bro. And long story short, like the other day, somebody sent me an Instagram message of a Peterbilt truck for $4,500. It's called a striker Peterbilt. So somebody stole a whole truck, bro.
Holy crap!
And like, then you think about it. The guy on the video is right. Like, how do you even steal a truck? Like the driver's always in the truck, always near the truck. Like, how do you just steal a fucking entire truck and the trailer, bro?
In the trailer, right? Didn't even have a CDL. Just like jumped in and tried to drive.
Yeah, just some guy just hopped in there and managed to fucking start it and just drive it.
And this isn't Chicago?
No tires. No, I don't know where this was, bro.
Okay, it's probably in Chicago. I mean, goodness gracious. Probably. That's what usually all the crime and all that crazy stuff happens.
Yeah, but the whole no tires, I just thought about, what about no truck and trailer?
Yeah.
All right, boys, get through this one very quickly. When you guys aren't selling truck parking and providing truck parking, safe, secure truck parking, what are your hobbies? What are you guys doing in your free time?
Like in the back as well.
You right?
What was that?
Right there it is. There's my Gretsch.
Guitar. Yeah.
That's guitar. I'm a musician, and so I play a lot. But my family and I, we love to camp. We live in Northwest Arkansas, and so Ozark Mountains. A lot of good camping up here. Love to fly fish, that sort of stuff with my boys. So a lot of my spare time is just spent with my family. They're the most important people in my life. And so
I hear that answer a lot. And to be honest, like I love that answer, man. It's like if you have once I have kids, like I'm not gonna have hobbies. I'm just gonna chill with my kids.
Yeah, like my son's coming home for the holidays from Oklahoma State, and he'll be home tomorrow night. So I'm excited to get him home, and the next couple of weeks just gonna be hanging out with my family and enjoying some time with my kids.
Being outside,
I love it. That's what I love to do.
I love that too.
Yeah.
What about you, Anthony?
You know what? I'm just a simple Italian boy from Chicago. I just like to honestly work out and just relax. And I bought a place in Florida because I just like to walk around in the sun. I really enjoy palm trees. I wrote a LinkedIn message.
Look at this, bro.
Yeah, there you go. I just love palm trees. So if I'm just out in life, just enjoying breathing air and looking at a palm tree, like that's my hobby, man. Like I'm simple, man.
I spent my 25th birthday in Croatia, and that's the first time I saw a palm tree in Europe, and I was like, God, so sick. I took a picture with it, and then I got the tattoo.
Nice.
Hell yeah, that's perfect.
There you go.
Love it. Love everything about a palm tree. It just makes me
happy.
How
serious are you with the gym? You going to the gym heavy?
Yeah, pretty serious. Like I'm not.
He's pretty yoked.
There's a guy. Yeah, there's a guy in our industry, Robert Bain. I mean, he is serious.
Yeah, I know Robert Bain.
Right. But I'm not.
I actually wanted to ask Robert Bain. Maybe I'll clip this so that I can just send it to him. Like, I want to ask Robert Bain if he's blasting gear, bro. Because I don't know, bro. At this point, he's squatting like 1,000 pounds.
He's serious. He's like into
he's
super
powerlifter
and stuff.
Bro.
No, I'm not like that. I like to keep fit. I'm not like that. No.
Like I just started going to the gym after 10 years of. I used to be like a D1 athlete, and then 10 years of life hit me in the face, and I had to work, and I was I'm not going to the gym anymore. Yep. But I just started 2 months ago, and that's why it's fun. It's fun to talk to people about the gym.
My wife and I just started doing that as well. So getting back into it.
I mean, it's like the diet more than anything, man. And I'm just eating just meat. Bro, I eat 2.2 pounds of meat a day, killing the meat.
Yep.
But all right, boys. Besides hobbies, sports, what do we got for sports? You guys watching them, playing them? I mean, not probably playing them too much, but what's your favorite sports to watch, if any?
God, I can't even think about the Chicago Bears right now. It's just bad.
Yeah, I saw that. The best. Somebody made the meme. Maybe it was Dooner or somebody, where they're like, for a logistics city, you guys can't move a football more than 7 yards.
I think we rushed like 6 yards last game, or past 6 yards. It was just so.
Yeah, it was like 6 or 7, and he's like, "You guys are known for logistics. You can't even move a football."
Right, exactly. Well, like we can't move a football. We're just awful. It starts from the top all the way down, but I don't even get into that. It's a whole other conversation.
God, I'm from Toronto, bro. Toronto, born and raised. I mean, Toronto sucks at everything. Like, we won basketball once in 50 years. Like, that's the only time that city won anything. So.
I mean, the Raptors, right? The Raptors always been decent.
Yeah, I mean, they've been decent, but basically, Toronto Maple Leafs, the hockey team, won in 1969, and then the city didn't win ever again until the Raptors in 2019. So the oldest member of the oldest member of a Toronto team that won something was a cheerleader, and she died. So the oldest member. So like everybody from the 1969 Toronto Maple Leafs died before we won again anything else. Like,
wow.
So that's just
I remember back in the 90s.
Right, in the 90s,
the baseball team wasn't bad, man. Y'all are
the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays. Y'all had Mitch Williams, Wild Thing.
No, I wasn't even born, bro. I don't know.
That's
all right. As far as music goes, I mean, Britton, I'm assuming, and this might be a little too much of an assumption, but you probably listen to country music, play country music.
Yeah, I do. I grew up in Texas, and so I listened to a lot of the Texas old school troubadours. Huge Johnny Cash fan. And the last
it's your voice for me. Like I could tell just from your accent. Like, this guy loves country music.
Yeah, I love country music. But the last couple of years I've gotten into bluegrass and learning how to pick a mandolin and play some bluegrass on the acoustic guitar. But I listen to a lot of country music, man. That is
hey, you got to record a song, man. Send it over. We got to play it on the podcast every now and again.
I'll figure that out. I'll get it over to you. Yeah, man.
Maybe it'll be my new intro music since mine's copyrighted. I just found that out. Well,
yeah,
what about you, Anthony?
Well, speaking of music, okay, I was going to say something. So when we were kind of waiting, I think you were doing like your, advertisements or whatever, how you start the podcast. Right. There was music in the background. I was like, dang, this is pretty good. Like, I thought maybe instead of just talking about truck parking, we would all go in and start freestyling or something. It was like, that
music is pretty intense,
boy.
Man.
So like, I like my hip hop. I like my
which one, like
R&B.
the short video or the starting soon video?
The starting, whatever the music was. I was
both of them.
Maybe I was like, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
That is like,
that's what you want to listen to right before you jump in the ring,
No, but this is my favorite. So nobody knows this, and I keep saying it, but still people don't know. So like I can see everybody when we're doing like the pre-show. So I can see you guys like dancing around.
I was like,
whenever this one comes on, like when this one comes on, it's just like everyone just starts going crazy every time that one plays. Like I see people just like dancing around to it. Like it's awesome.
Awesome.
What about music for you though, man? Like what are you actually into? Being in Chicago, you guys got the best drill rap. I mean, you guys got some really fire music.
I mean, for music, right? So like hip hop, R&B. That's where I kind of grew up on.
Music.
80s. I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s. I was born in the 90s, but early 90s. And I've always loved the 80s. I don't know what it is. And then, of course, being with my uncle all those years, I mean, I was just listening to like Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack. It was all day long.
No, Frank Sinatra's fire, man. I listen to that all the time when I'm cooking or just like cleaning my house. Like I listen to a lot of jazz when I'm like cooking too.
I'm a big Sinatra fan.
Best.
All right, boys.
I love the crooners.
2 questions and we're out of here. And this is actually gonna be a new recurring question. I'm switching it. Actually, here we'll end it like this. Last 3 questions. This is the last time I'm gonna ask this question. I promise it's actually gonna be the last time. Regarding train and rail transportation, how many chuggas come before choo choo?
Regarding
8.
Rail transportation, how many trucks?
Oh, this guy, like chugga.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like a riddle.
yeah, it's like a riddle, I guess. I mean, 8 is actually the right answer. Like this is like a legitimate
8.
question.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's like 4. I think it's like 4. It's like chugga, 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 choo, choo.
Chugga, and then choo choo.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's perfect that you didn't understand the question
anyway.
because listen. If you guys listen carefully, you'll hear me delete it. You ready? And now the question doesn't exist in the show anymore. But Britton hit the right answer right on the end of that question being asked. So
you said choo choo?
No, you said 8. 8 is like
8 chuggas.
You didn't say choo choo? I thought you were gonna say chugga 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 choo choo.
Nah, he did it in his head. Some people do it with their fingers. Some do it in their head.
I'm sitting there.
Some people start saying it like chugga chugga chugga. All right, boys. Anyways, that's the end of that question. It'll never be asked again. Into our new question that is replacing this question. How often do you think of the Roman Empire?
You know, now that Gladiator 2 is out and I want to see it, you know, I kind of think about it, you know. It's
what about you, Anthony? Is it ever on your mind, the Roman Empire?
I mean, I guess it is because I'm Italian, maybe, you know. I don't know. Like I go back.
You don't just wake up, get out of bed, brush your teeth thinking about the Roman Empire, bro. Like,
you know, I mean, I am a Christian, so I mean, I do read the Bible, so I guess, you know, it goes back to Roman Empire and you know, the whole thing. So I guess.
I mean, yeah, with the launch of Gladiator 2, this is like pretty well timed to add this question. And maybe I'll work
I guess so. Is Gladiator 2 with Russell Crowe again, or is it completely different?
No, it's not Russell.
Okay, then I'm not going to watch
I'm going to give you guys my
I'm going to see it. You got to see it.
No.
Strength and honor. There you go.
Another dumb one.
I'm going to give you guys a controversial opinion as somebody that's probably too young, and you're all probably going to get mad at me. But so I watched the OG Gladiator movie like a week or 2 ago.
Russell Crowe, yeah.
And I didn't. It's not a very good movie, bro. Like I watched the first hour. Like the son, you know, the exact scene where I got mad at this movie is like the son who kills his dad. That whole scene where he's like fake crying, and it's like the worst acting you've ever seen in your life. And I'm like, I don't know why people like this movie, bro. Like it's really slow. It's like a really, really, really slow.
Well, it's a long movie. Yeah, it was like.
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying like that one scene where he kills his dad, he's fake crying. I was like, yo, this guy sucks at acting. And, anyways, that's just my opinion. I didn't like the movie. I didn't even finish it, to be honest. But,
I mean, the movie came out in 2000, and I was 9 years old, so it's been a long time. But
yeah, I was 3 years old, so I was still in diapers, bro.
Yeah, you were in diapers.
All right, on to the final question. Nobody's gonna troll this question. This is my most famous question and favorite question to run through. The chicken wing choices. When you guys eat chicken wings, do you like drums or flats more?
Oh man, I go for the thighs, bro. Being from Chicago, it's the thighs all day long.
Bro, I just ate thighs today at a restaurant. My favorite dish at this place is thighs. But bro, drums or flats, no thighs. You can't just pick thighs, bro. There's only 2 options.
Okay, I do that. I guess if I got to pick that, it would be drums for sure.
Nice. What about you, bro?
Yeah, it's gonna be
drums.
Hey, let's go! Finally, people picking the drums, man. Ranch or blue cheese on the dipping sauce?
Blue cheese.
Blue cheese all day.
All day.
Nice.
All day.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we're gonna go 3 for 3 if you guys get this one right. Breaded or non-breaded?
Ooh. Oh,
Say
man,
what
that's a tough one. You know what?
Breaded or non-breaded wings?
I think it has to be breaded. You know, I have
breaded
a house
and fried, man.
Yeah, it's got to be fried, man.
So you're both going breaded?
First of all, there ain't no thing but a chicken wing. And if it ain't fried, it ain't food. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But if you've ever had like grilled chicken wings, like what I do, they're not breaded.
I'm not opposed to non-breaded wings, especially with a good sauce. But like at the end of the day, breaded wings are always going to be
man. The breaded wing, when you drop it in the fryer and you pull it out, that's the way you got to go, man. That's it.
All right, boys, we have ended a chicken wing choices with 2 guests going 3 for 3. It never happens like that. Everyone picks flats. Awesome. I'm mad every single time, bro. Drums are way better.
No. I mean thighs for sure, but drumsticks would be the.
This guy with his thighs, right? I'm gonna make fun of you on LinkedIn for the rest of your life. I'm gonna type thighs and everything you do. Right?
Think thighs. That's the way to go.
It's gonna be like thighs. It's gonna make no sense if you keep doing it.
Right.
All right, boys. Thank you. Happy Friday. Sorry we went over a little bit.
It's all good, man. Enjoy the conversation.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you. We loved it.
Yeah. So shout out to FinPark. If you need safe and secure parking, hit up Anthony or Britton. And before you guys go, we have a promo code for anybody on the mobile app, 15% off the first reservation on FinPark mobile app. Just type in FinPod15, and I will release you guys for your weekend right now. Thanks again, boys.
Y'all have a good one. Thanks, Alex.
Safe.
That wraps up episode 58 of podcast with the FinPark crew. Safe and secure truck parking. Hit them up. Again, you got this promo code, good for your first reservation, 15% off. Just type in FinPod15 on the FinPark app. That's it for me. Have a good weekend, everybody.